Trust is a fragile thread, unraveling when secrets spill into the open. Tonight, one man reveals how his wife's hidden online world tore apart his family, leaving him to face a town's judgmental whispers. My name is James, 45, a financial advisor living in a small town outside Boise, Idaho. My wife, Sarah, and I have been married for 20 years, raising three teenage boys: Ryan, 17, Lucas, 15, and Mason, 13. In a close-knit community where everyone knows your business, I'm an old-school guy. I manage portfolios for high-net-worth clients, come home to my family, and avoid social media like the plague. Never saw the point of it. Sarah, though, was always glued to her laptop, lost in what she called her gaming hobby. I thought it was just her way of unwinding after arranging flowers at the local florist shop. Turns out, I was dead wrong. Our life felt like the American dream, or close enough. I'd spend my days at the office, crunching numbers, advising clients on million-dollar investments, or negotiating with hedge fund managers. The work's high pressure. But it paid for our four-bedroom house, the boys' private school, and Sarah's little luxuries. She had a knack for making our home feel alive, fresh flowers on the table, homemade pies for church potlucks. We were a team. I'd take Ryan to his soccer games, help Lucas with his guitar lessons, and read comic books with Mason. Weekends were for barbecues in our backyard or volunteering at the community center. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours, a life built on trust, or so I thought. That illusion shattered one evening last spring. I was in my home office, reviewing a client's portfolio, when Ryan knocked. He's a quiet kid, always tinkering on his computer. His face was pale, hands trembling as he handed me his phone. "Dad, you need to see this," he said, voice barely above a whisper. I set aside my laptop, expecting some dumb internet meme. Instead, it was a screenshot from an online forum tied to Sarah's role-playing game. Her username, Moonlit Ranger, was plastered across posts gushing about a guy called Dark Paladin. She called him her soulmate, shared intimate thoughts no married woman should share. There were photos, too, not explicit, thank God, but personal, things meant for my eyes only, not some stranger online. My chest tightened, like someone had dropped a safe on it. Ryan said he'd found the forum while researching game mods. It wasn't hidden. Anyone could read it. The idea of our neighbors, our church friends, seeing Sarah's words made my skin crawl. I scrolled through her posts. Dark Paladin gets me in a way my husband never could. Each word was a gut punch. Ryan's eyes were wet as he mumbled, "I'm sorry, Dad." I couldn't respond. I just stumbled to the living room, past Sarah humming in the kitchen, and sat in the dark, her words burning in my mind. I didn't sleep that night. I kept picturing her typing those love letters while I was on calls with clients or driving Mason to soccer practice. 20 years of marriage, late nights building my firm, saving for our boys' college funds, sacrificing for our family. Felt like a lie. The betrayal was bad enough, but the public shame? That was unbearable. Our town small, maybe 6,000 people. Gossip spreads like wildfire. By the next week, I caught neighbors whispering at the coffee shop, their eyes darting away when I looked. At church, the pastor offered prayer for our family. Is pity worse than the betrayal? Even my clients seemed to know, their polite smiles tinged with curiosity. I confronted Sarah the next morning. She sobbed, swore it was just a fantasy, that Dark Paladin was nobody real. But those words, those photos, they were real enough to gut me. I couldn't look at her without seeing Moonlit Ranger pouring her heart out to someone else. My pride, my dignity, was crumbling under the weight of a town's whispers. How do you rebuild when your entire life, your marriage, your reputation feels like a public joke? All I could think was, how do I face my boys, my clients, myself, knowing what she did? That confrontation with Sarah changed everything. I stood in our kitchen, the same place we danced to old country songs and planned our boys' futures, and it felt like a stranger's house. Sarah's eyes were swollen, mascara streaking as she clutched a dish towel like it could anchor her. "James, it wasn't real," she kept saying, her voice shaking. "It was just a game, a stupid fantasy." But I couldn't erase those forum posts from my mind. Her calling Dark Paladin her soulmate, the photos she sent him, they weren't explicit, but they were intimate. Sarah in the blue dress I got her for our 15th anniversary, smiling in a way she hadn't for me in years. I demanded to know how long it had been going on. She hesitated, then whispered, 6 months. 6 months of lies while I was busting my tail managing portfolios for clients who thought they were the next big thing. I pressed her for more. Had she met this guy? No, she swore. It was all online. Did she love him? She dodged, mumbling about escaping stress. I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. Stress? I'm the one juggling million-dollar accounts and teenage boys. I asked why she'd post where anyone could see. She thought the forum was private, a safe space for gamers. Safe. That word hit like a sledgehammer. Our marriage, our home. That was supposed to be her safe space, not some digital hideout with a stranger named Dark Paladin. Every word she said made the knot in my chest tighter. The boys were upstairs, probably catching every shout. Ryan, who'd found the posts, hadn't spoken to Sarah since he showed me. Lucas and Mason kept asking what was wrong. Their faces a mix of confusion and fear. I couldn't tell them the truth. Not yet. I told Sarah to sleep on the couch that night. She begged to talk more, tears streaming, but I couldn't breathe near her. I locked myself in my home office, staring at my computer. Part of me wanted to hunt down Dark Paladin, to see if he was some kid in a basement or a guy like me, hiding behind a keyboard. But I'm a financial advisor, not a tech wizard. I didn't even know where to start. All I knew was my life was unraveling, and I was powerless to stop it. Work was a nightmare the next day. I was a zombie, barely able to focus on client calls about stock splits or retirement plans. My assistant, Karen, noticed I was off, asking if I was okay. I brushed it off with a weak smile, but her eyes held that pity I was starting to recognize. Boise's small, maybe 6,000 in our town, and gossip spreads like wildfire. My clients are local, one whisper, and I'd be the guy whose wife ran off with an online boyfriend. I canceled my afternoon meetings and drove, aimlessly, trying to clear my head. Everywhere I went, the gas station, the diner, I felt eyes on me. Maybe I was paranoid, but the whispers were real. At church that Sunday, a buddy from the men's group clapped my shoulder and said, "We're praying for you, James." I wanted to shove him away, not because he was wrong, but because I hated being the guy everyone pitted. Sarah tried to keep things normal at home, making pancakes for the boys, but the air was thick with tension. Ryan pushed his plate away, barely looking at her. Lucas asked why Mom was acting weird. Mason, oblivious, just wanted more syrup. I couldn't eat, couldn't think past those posts, how she'd poured her heart out to someone else while I was right there, paying bills, coaching soccer, being her husband. I told her we needed space, that she should stay with her sister for a while. She cried harder, saying she'd do anything to fix it. But how do you fix trust that's been shredded? My pride, my dignity. It was all slipping away, and the town's whispers only made it worse. I needed her gone, just for now, to salvage what little I had left. Sarah's car disappeared down the street that evening, her taillight swallowed by the Idaho dusk. The boys stood frozen at the living room window, Ryan's jaw tight, Lucas looking lost, and Mason tugging at my sleeve, asking, "When's Mom coming back, Dad?" I didn't have an answer that wouldn't break their hearts. Ryan, who'd found Sarah's forum posts, knew more than his brothers, and the weight of it was crushing him. I mumbled something about needing time and sent them to their rooms. But Ryan's sharp glance told me he saw through the lie. I felt like I'd failed them, not just as a husband, but as their father. My whole job was to keep them safe, and now their world was fracturing because of Sarah's gaming hobby. I tried to lose myself in work the next day. My office, with its mahogany desk and stacks of client portfolios, used to be my refuge. Now, it felt like a trap. I'd stare at stock tickers, trying to focus on bond yields or retirement plans. But Sarah's words, "Dark Paladin gets me in a way my husband never could," kept clawing at me. I finally gave in and looked up the forum myself. It was worse than I'd imagined. Under Moonlit Ranger, Sarah had posted dozens of messages, some dating back months. She gushed about Dark Paladin's kindness and depth, shared stories about our life, how I was always working, how she felt invisible at home. Reading it was like being gutted in public. The forum wasn't some secret hideout. Anyone with a browser could see it. The thought of our neighbors or my clients stumbling across her posts made my skin crawl. I shut my laptop, hands shaking. Part of me wanted to find this Dark Paladin, to see who he was, a lonely teenager or some slick con artist. But I didn't know how. I manage million-dollar accounts, not internet investigations. Instead, I called my brother, Tom, who lives in Seattle. He's the only person I could talk to without feeling judged. I told him everything, the posts, the photos, the whispers around town. He listened, then said, "James, you don't deserve this. Kick her out for good." I told him she was already at her sister's, but I wasn't sure what came next. Divorce? Counseling? All I knew was that every time I thought of Sarah, I saw those words, her betrayal laid bare for the world. The gossip in town was relentless. Boise's small, our corner of it. Maybe 6,000 people, and news travels fast. At the grocery store, I caught Mrs. Larson, our old neighbor, whispering to her friend. They stopped when I passed, their smiles too tight. At church, the pastor pulled me aside, offering guidance with that pitying look I was growing to hate. Even at work, my assistant, Karen, kept checking on me, her voice soft like I was fragile. I wanted to scream that I wasn't the one who broke our family. My clients, thankfully, hadn't mentioned anything, but I dreaded the day one of them would. Losing their trust could tank my business, and with 3 boys to support, I couldn't afford that. At home, the boys were struggling. Ryan barely left his room, blasting music to drown out the world. Lucas asked questions I couldn't answer, like, "Is Mom coming back soon?" Mason, too young to grasp it, kept drawing pictures of our family, Sarah included. I tried to keep things normal: pizza nights, soccer practice, but the silence was deafening without Sarah's chatter. I hadn't told them the full truth. But Ryan's discovery meant I'd have to soon. How do you explain to your kids that their mom fell for someone online, that she aired your family's laundry for strangers? I lay awake at night, wondering where I'd gone wrong. Was I too focused on work? Did I miss signs? The shame wasn't just Sarah's, it was mine, too, for not seeing it coming. All I could do was keep moving, hoping the whispers would fade. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The days after Sarah left dragged like a bad dream you can't shake. I'd wake up, make coffee, and stare at the empty spot where her mug used to sit, feeling like a stranger in my own house. The boys were tiptoeing around me, sensing the fracture but not knowing how to fix it. Ryan, 17, was the hardest hit. He'd found Sarah's forum posts, and the betrayal was personal for him. He'd stopped talking much, just grunting responses and disappearing to his room with his headphones. Lucas, 15, kept asking when things would go back to normal, his voice cracking like he knew they wouldn't. Mason, 13, was still drawing family pictures, always including Sarah, oblivious to how deep the cut went. I hadn't told them everything, but the truth was a ticking bomb. Work was my only anchor, but even that was slipping. As a financial advisor, I'm supposed to project confidence. Clients trust me with their life savings, their kids' college funds. But I was unraveling. During a meeting with a big client, Mr. Peterson, I zoned out mid-sentence, thinking about Sarah's words. "Dark Paladin understands me." Peterson noticed, asking if I was okay. I forced a smile, blaming a late night. But I saw the doubt in his eyes. If word got out about Sarah's online affair, my reputation could take a hit. Boise's small, our town's barely 6,000 people, and my clients talk. A humiliated husband doesn't scream trustworthy advisor. I started working late, avoiding home, but the whispers followed me. At the diner, 2 women from church hushed up when I walked in. Their pity stung worse than their gossip. Sarah called every day, leaving voicemails I couldn't bring myself to answer. "James, please, let's talk," she'd say, her voice thick with tears. "I'm so sorry." I deleted them, but they haunted me. Part of me wanted to hear her out, to understand why she'd thrown us away for some faceless gamer. The other part wanted to burn it all down: our marriage, her excuses, the life we built. I kept picturing her typing those love letters to Dark Paladin while I was coaching Mason's soccer team or balancing our budget. 20 years of marriage, and she'd made me a fool in front of our town, our church, maybe even strangers online. I finally told the boys a version of the truth one night over pizza. Ryan already knew too much, but Lucas and Mason deserved something. I sat them down, my hands shaking as I explained that Mom had made a mistake online, talking to someone she shouldn't have. I kept it vague, saying it hurt our family and we needed space to figure things out. Ryan stared at the table, his pizza untouched. Lucas asked, "Is it because of her game?" I nodded, throat tight. Mason's eyes welled up. Is Mom leaving forever? He whispered. I pulled him close, promising she'd always be their mom, but the words felt hollow. How do you explain betrayal to a kid who still believes in happy endings? After they went to bed, I poured a whiskey and sat in the dark. I thought about my brother Tom's advice to kick her out for good, but it wasn't that simple. Divorce meant splitting our life, our house, our savings, our boy's stability. Yet staying together felt impossible. I couldn't look at Sarah without seeing Moonlit Ranger, her forum posts exposing our marriage like dirty laundry. The shame was suffocating, not just for me, but for the boys. Ryan's friends at school had started asking questions, their parents no doubt feeding the rumor mill. Lucas's track coach pulled me aside, offering support with that same pitying look. Even Mason's art teacher mentioned his drawings, hinting at family stress. Our private pain was a public spectacle, and I hated Sarah for it. I started researching the forum more, trying to understand how deep this went. I found threads where other users egged Sarah on, praising her connection with Dark Paladin. It made me sick. Was this what she craved, validation from strangers? I wondered if Dark Paladin knew she was married, if he cared. I wanted to confront him, but what would that solve? My pride was already in tatters, and dragging it out online would only make things worse. Instead, I focused on the boys, trying to keep their world from collapsing. But every whisper, every glance, reminded me, there's no escaping shame in a town this small. The weeks after telling the boys about Sarah's mistake were a blur of routine and rage. I'd wake up, make breakfast, drive Mason to soccer, and pretend everything was fine. But inside, I was a wreck. Ryan was pulling away, spending hours in his room. His music loud enough to rattle the walls. Lucas threw himself into track, running like he could outpace the truth. Mason, though, was the hardest. He'd leave his family drawings on the kitchen table, Sarah's stick figure smiling like nothing had happened. I'd tuck them away, unable to throw them out but hating the sight of them. Sarah was still at her sister's, calling daily, but I wasn't ready to talk. Her voicemails piled up, each one a plea. James, I messed up. Let me fix this. I deleted them, but her voice lingered, mixing with the memory of her forum posts to Dark Paladin. Work was a minefield. As a financial advisor, I'm supposed to be the steady hand guiding clients through market crashes, but I could barely guide myself through a day. My inbox was full of emails from clients, but I kept seeing Sarah's words. Dark Paladin gets me. Instead of stock reports, one morning, a longtime client, Mrs. Callahan, asked if I was holding up okay, her tone dripping with sympathy. I froze, realizing the gossip had reached my professional circle. Boise's small. And my reputation is my livelihood. If clients thought I couldn't handle my own life, why would they trust me with their money? I mumbled something about family stress and changed the subject, but the damage was done. I started avoiding the office coffee room, where whispers about James's wife were growing louder. The town's judgment was relentless. At the hardware store, old Mr. Jenkins, who'd known me since I was a kid, gave me a sad nod, like I was a wounded animal. At church, the women's group sent a casserole with a note about healing. I wanted to throw it against the wall. My brother Tom called from Seattle, urging me to move on and file for divorce. She humiliated you, man, he said. Cut her loose. But it wasn't that simple. Divorce meant tearing our family apart, splitting our home, our savings, the boys' future. Yet staying with Sarah felt like swallowing glass. Every time I thought of her, I saw Moonlit Ranger spilling our marriage to strangers online. Her photos sent to some gamer who wasn't me. I started digging deeper into the forum, not sure what I was looking for. Late at night, after the boys were asleep, I'd scroll through Moonlit Ranger's posts. There were love letters to Dark Paladin, but also rants about me, how I was distant, how my long hours left her lonely. It stung because there was truth in it. I've been grinding to build a life for us, taking on extra clients to afford Ryan's college, Lucas's guitar lessons, Mason's braces. Did that make me the bad guy? I found a thread where Dark Paladin replied, calling her his light in the dark. It made me want to punch the screen. Who was this guy? I tried searching his username, but it led to dead ends, fake profiles, no real name. I wasn't a detective, just a guy drowning in his own marriage. The boys were my anchor, but even that was shaky. Ryan finally spoke up one night, slamming his laptop shut. Why is mom still gone? Dad, what did she do? I couldn't lie anymore. I told him she'd been too close with someone online, that it hurt our family. He nodded, eyes hard, like he'd expected worse. Lucas overheard and got quiet, his usual chatter gone. Mason, though, clung to hope, asking if mom would be back for his birthday. I said I didn't know, hating myself for it. The truth was, I didn't know if I could forgive Sarah, not just for the betrayal but for the shame she'd brought on us. The town's whispers, the boys' pain, my own pride. It was all tangled up. I lay awake, wondering if I could rebuild without her, or if the life we'd had was gone for good. All I knew was that I had to keep going for the boys, even if I was falling apart. The weight of Sarah's betrayal was a constant ache, like a bruise that wouldn't fade. I'd go through the motions, drop the boys at school, meet clients, make dinner, but it was all hollow. Ryan was a ghost in his own house, barely speaking since I'd told him about Sarah's online friend. Lucas buried himself in track, coming home sweaty and silent. Mason, bless him, still left drawings of our family on the fridge, Sarah's stick figure holding my hand. I couldn't look at them without feeling like I'd been punched. Sarah was still at her sister's. Her voicemail's a daily torture I couldn't ignore but wouldn't answer. James, I'm so sorry, she'd say, voice breaking, please, let me come home. I wanted to believe her, but those forum posts, Dark Paladin's my light, were burned into my brain. Work was a tightrope. As a financial advisor, I'm paid to be calm, to steer clients through market dips with a steady hand, but I was anything but steady. During a call with a new client, I blanked on a basic tax question. My mind stuck on Sarah's photos sent to some stranger. The client laughed it off, but I saw my assistant Karen's worried glance through the glass. The gossip was creeping into my office now. A colleague, Mike, asked if I needed time off, his tone too gentle. I snapped that I was fine, but I wasn't. Boise's too small, 6,000 people in our town, and everyone seemed to know my wife had a digital boyfriend. I dreaded losing clients. My business was all I had to keep the boys' lives stable, and Sarah's mess was threatening that, too. The town's judgment was a slow poison. At the post office, Mrs. Carter, our old Sunday school teacher, squeezed my arm and said, God's got a plan, James. I nodded, but I wanted to yell that God didn't sign my mortgage. At soccer practice, other dads avoided my eyes, their wives whispering by the bleachers. Even church, my refuge for years, felt like a stage. The pastor preached about forgiveness, and I swear half the congregation glanced at me. I stopped going, telling the boys I was busy. Ryan didn't argue. He hadn't been back since the whispers started. Lucas and Mason went with a neighbor, but I saw the hurt in their eyes. I was letting them down, but I couldn't face the pity anymore. One night, I cracked and called Sarah's sister, Lisa. I needed to know if Sarah was serious about fixing things or just playing victim. Lisa sighed, saying Sarah was a mess, crying all day, barely eating, swearing she'd never meet Dark Paladin. She knows she screwed up, James, Lisa said, but she's scared you're done. I asked if Sarah had contacted him since leaving. Lisa hesitated, then said no. As far as she knew, that pause gnawed at me. Was Sarah still Moonlit Ranger, typing to her soulmate behind my back? I hung up, angrier than before. I wanted to trust her, but trust was a currency we'd run out of. I kept digging into the forum, a masochistic habit. I found older posts where Sarah complained about our marriage, how my late nights made her feel alone, how I didn't see her anymore. It hurt because there was truth there. I'd been so focused on building our future, Ryan's college, Lucas's lessons, Mason's braces, that I'd missed her drifting. But that didn't justify her betrayal, airing our life to strangers, sending photos to some gamer. I found a post where Dark Paladin called her his everything, and my blood boiled. I wanted to track him down, demand answers, but what would that solve? He was a shadow, and I was the one living in the wreckage. The boys were my lifeline. I tried to keep things normal, movie nights, homework help, but the cracks showed. Ryan asked if we were getting divorced, his voice flat like he'd already accepted it. Lucas stopped talking about track, his passion fading. Mason's birthday was coming, and he wanted Sarah there. I didn't know what to tell him. I lay awake, wrestling with my options. Divorce felt like admitting defeat, but staying with Sarah meant living with her betrayal, the town's whispers, my own shame. I wanted to protect the boys, but I was barely holding myself together. All I could do was keep moving, hoping for a sign, any sign of what came next. Mason's birthday was a week away, and it loomed over me like a storm cloud. He'd been clear. He wanted Sarah there, blowing out candles with him like always. I didn't know how to tell him that might not happen. Sarah was still at her sister's, her voicemails piling up, each one a knife twist. James, I'll do anything to make this right. I hadn't called back. Every time I thought about her, I saw a moonlit ranger pouring her heart out to Dark Paladin, her words tearing our family apart for anyone online to see. The boys were hurting. Ryan barely spoke. Lucas had lost his spark, and Mason's hope was a weight I couldn't carry. I was drowning in their pain and my own, trying to keep our life from collapsing entirely. Work was no better. As a financial advisor, I'm supposed to be the rock for clients panicking about market swings, but I was the one crumbling. I'd sit in meetings, nodding at stock projections, while my mind replayed Sarah's forum posts. My husband's always working. He doesn't see me dash. A client, Mr. Reynolds, asked if I was distracted, his eyebrow raised. I lied, blaming a tough week, but the truth was leaking out. Boise's gossip mill was churning. My assistant, Karen, overheard too. Colleagues whispering about James's marriage troubles in the break room. I started taking calls from home, avoiding the office, but that only made me feel more isolated. My business was my lifeline, paying for Ryan's college applications, Lucas's track gear, Mason's braces, and I couldn't let Sarah's betrayal tank it. The town's judgment was a constant hum. At the grocery store, a cashier I'd known for years gave me a sad smile, like I was a widower. At Mason's soccer game, another dad asked, "How you holding up?" Before looking away, embarrassed. Church was the worst. The pastor's wife dropped off a pie with a note about strength in trials. I left it on the counter, untouched, until Lucas ate half of it. I hadn't been back to services in weeks, telling the boys I had work. Ryan didn't push. He'd stopped going, too. Fed up with the stares, Lucas and Mason went with a neighbor, but I saw the confusion in their eyes. I was letting them down, but facing the congregation felt like walking into a lion's den. I finally agreed to meet Sarah at a coffee shop, neutral ground. She looked exhausted, her hair pulled back, no makeup, like she hadn't slept in weeks. She started with apologies, saying she'd cut off Dark Paladin, deleted her forum account, quit the game. "I was lonely, James," she said, tears falling. "You were always working, and I felt invisible." I wanted to scream that her loneliness didn't justify humiliating me, exposing our life online. Instead, I asked if she'd loved him. She shook her head, insisting it was just a fantasy. But her eyes flickered, and I didn't believe her. I asked why she posted publicly, why she let strangers into our marriage. She swore she thought the forum was private, that she never meant to hurt me. But intent didn't erase the damage. The whispers, the boy's pain, my pride in pieces. I told her about Mason's birthday, how he wanted her there. Her face lit up, hopeful, but I shut it down. "It's for him, not us," I said. She nodded, promising to be there, but I left feeling no closer to answers. Could I forgive her? Divorce still felt like a wrecking ball, splitting our home, our finances, the boy's stability. But living with her meant carrying the weight of her betrayal, the town's eyes on us. I kept thinking about Ryan's silence, Lucas's fading spark, Mason's drawings. They deserved better than a broken home. But what did that even look like anymore? That night, I checked the forum again, a habit I couldn't quit. Sarah's account was gone, like she'd said, but Dark Paladin was still active, posting about losing his light. It made my blood boil. Was he pining for her? Or was this just a game to him? I wanted to message him, demand to know why he thought he could invade my marriage, but I stopped myself. Engaging would only drag me deeper into the mess. Instead, I focused on Mason's birthday, planning a small party to keep things normal. But nothing felt normal. The shame, the anger, the boys' hurt. It was all closing in, and I didn't know how to outrun it. Mason's birthday came like a deadline I wasn't ready for. I'd spent days planning a small party, pizza, a chocolate cake, a few of his soccer buddies, hoping to give him one normal day, but Sarah's presence hung over it like a shadow. She'd promised to come. And Mason was counting on it, his eyes lighting up when I confirmed she'd be there. Ryan and Lucas were less thrilled. Ryan barely spoke, his resentment towards Sarah a wall I couldn't breach. Lucas, usually so talkative, just shrugged when I mentioned her, his track medals gathering dust on his shelf. I was trying to hold our family together, but it felt like gripping sand. Every effort just made it slip faster. The party was at our house, the same place where Sarah's betrayal had gutted me. I set up streamers, feeling like a fraud. While the boys helped with balloons, Sarah arrived on time, carrying a wrapped gift from Mason. Her smile tentative. Mason ran to her, hugging her like nothing had changed. Ryan stayed in the kitchen, pretending to fiddle with his phone. Lucas hung back, watching her like she was a stranger. I couldn't look at her without seeing Moonlit Ranger, her words to Dark Paladin, still echoing. He's my everything dash. She tried to catch my eye, but I busied myself slicing pizza, avoiding her. The kids didn't need our tension ruining Mason's day. The party went okay. Mason laughed with his friends, tearing into gifts, but the air was thick. Sarah tried to play mom, cutting cake and joking with the kids, but Ryan's cold stares cut through her efforts. Lucas answered her in monosyllables, and I saw her flinch each time. After the kids left, she helped clean up, lingering like she wanted to talk. I sent the boys upstairs and faced her in the living room. "Thanks for coming," I said, my voice flat. She teared up, saying she'd missed us, that she'd do anything to come home. I asked if she'd contacted Dark Paladin since leaving. She swore she hadn't, that she'd blocked him everywhere. I wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at me. Her hesitation with Lisa still lingered. I told her I wasn't ready for her to come back. The boys needed stability, and I needed time. She nodded, crying, and left for her sisters. That night, Mason asked if Mom was staying. I said she'd visit again soon, hating the lie in my voice. Ryan overheard and muttered, "She shouldn't come back." His anger mirrored mine, but it scared me. How long could he carry that hate? Lucas was quieter, asking if we'd ever be a family again. I didn't know, and that killed me. Work was a mess. A client pulled his account, citing personal concerns about my focus. I knew it was the gossip. Boise's too small to hide from it. My assistant, Karen, tried to shield me, but I heard the whispers in the office. I started working from home more, but even that felt tainted. I'd sit in my office, staring at client portfolios, wondering how Sarah could have thrown us away for an online fantasy. I checked the forum again. Dark Paladin was still posting cryptic nonsense about lost connections. It made me want to smash my laptop. Instead, I called my lawyer just to talk options. Divorce papers felt like a guillotine, but I needed to know what it would mean. Custody, the house, my business. He said we'd have a strong case, given Sarah's actions. But it would be messy. The boys would be caught in the crossfire, and that stopped me cold. The town's judgment never let up. At the gas station, a neighbor asked if Sarah was back yet, his tone implying I'd failed to keep her. Church friends left voicemails about healing through faith, but I deleted them. I was done with their pity. My focus was the boys. Keeping Ryan from shutting down, Lucas from losing himself, Mason from hoping for a fairy tale, but I was barely holding on. Forgiveness felt like surrender, but divorce felt like destroying the boys' world. I lay awake, replaying Sarah's apologies, Dark Paladin's words, the town's whispers. My pride was in shreds, and I didn't know if I could rebuild without cutting Sarah out for good. All I knew was that I had to keep going, for the boys. Even if I didn't know where we were headed.